We don't want to be like, does this make me look funny? We want to be like, how does this make the other person feel?
Welcome to Stickology. Today we are laughing our way to better leadership with our guest, award-winning comedian, speaker, author, and host of the Humor in the C-Suite podcast, Kate Davis. She has proven that levity isn't just entertainment, it's a secret weapon for building trust and connection in any workplace. Kate, thanks so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited.
I have watched a lot of your material. I've watched some of your talks, and I've really enjoyed your stuff. I have a ton of questions.
All right, let's do it.
I've always found that humor allows us to re-engage with our true selves. You know, the innocent, open-minded kid in us.
Yeah.
How do you think a leader's authenticity and vulnerability through humor inspires the same in their team?
100%. Number one thing, that it takes it from transactional to human. And people, even in the book Humor Seriously, they say the number one thing that, surveyed that people want from their leaders is for them to be more human, to sound like a real person. And I think that's the difference. Really knowing that you have a sense of humor about yourself, I think really tends to make people really want to work with you, and be on your team. So I think it's just the authenticity factor that really lends itself to the to really wanting to be there and work for someone and be a part of something that's bigger than you and be a part of that team. But the leader and the leadership, I think, really has to. It just really takes it from transactional to human. And that can just be as simple as a smile.
Okay, so note to self, smile more. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
What's your advice, though, if someone is naturally more serious? How do they bring that levity out? How do they bring that into their style if that's not something that is natural to who they are?
Okay, first of all, you got to know your audience. If you work with this team for, 2, 3, 4 years, you're going to know everyone. You're going to know that, Sid likes his mint tea and, someone plays hockey on Thursdays. And you're going to know different details about, I don't know why I said Sid drinks mint tea. I'm just making stuff up.
Because he does. You know your audience.
Does. But you got to know your audience. And I think that's a trick. Also, you never want to punch down, if you're a leader. You always want to. So self-deprecating humor, that little bit of, just razzing, but who you can razz and what's going to work with your team. But it really does make people think that they can bring themselves to work and that they can generally take risks, which is really what you want from your team if you want any, innovation or anything like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think sometimes maybe having that sense of who you're talking to loosens you up. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, well, absolutely. You feel like you can be yourself, and depending on what you're working on, there was a great study done where they asked people, in the advertisement field, one group was given come up with the best ideas for this campaign. And the other one was given, come up with the worst ideas for this campaign. And the worst ones were way better, way more fun, way more innovative, and really resonated with people. So it really does, it's really saying, bring yourself to this. And I think if something doesn't land, that's okay too. You can just say, I was just trying to joke, really being in the moment and recognizing maybe it was too far or, it wasn't correct. But really knowing your audience, I think, is the real key to be able, if you're dealing with a new client, you're not going to razz them like you would someone you've been working with for 5 years.
Yep. And I think also one of the things you just said really resonates with me is being humble enough to recognize if something you say doesn't land well, to be able to acknowledge that immediately, right? Because when leaders can acknowledge that they've made a mistake or they maybe could have taken a different approach, that gives leeway for their employees to do the same thing, right?
Yeah, and it increases trust and culture and leadership. I think is different than what I thought of it as a kid. Like the principal was always terrifying. It was like now, kids nowadays, and especially the generation in the workforce, you have 25-year-olds who are born in the year 2000 now. Like it's just like they know their boundaries. I definitely grew up in a generation of, oh my God, like me, and now it's like they don't give a crap if you like them or not. They just want you to be real and want you to be yourself. And I think it lends to a way better culture where people really feel like they can get something done and they can participate in that. You're not stuck in your lane. You can come out of your lane. It's okay. But definitely with a leader, I think it takes a strong sense of confidence for sure. And look, we've all had crappy bosses. We've all had the bosses who are
authoritative. Yeah.
Yeah. But really, we don't need that anymore. What we need is we need them to be more human. So I think I think C-suite people know that now.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that, they're going to be different in a room of C-suite people that they can really razz because they're all, this sort of on the same level than there is, with their assistant or what's going on. But I think it's really knowing who you're speaking to.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Shifting gears a little bit,
Yeah.
Kate, you are known for giving audiences an ab workout. Can you talk about the physical feeling of group laughing together and how maybe the shared experience can instantly build more connection and collaboration in the work culture?
Oh, I just love everything you just said.
Well, thanks. I'll say it again.
Absolutely. Look, when we laugh, right, certain chemicals are released in the brain. And definitely it lowers our defenses. It helps build team unity. It builds up trust and it helps us stay adaptable and resilient. But physically, what happens to us, other than being a great ab workout, it releases stress, tension, anxiety. If you are in a real high pressure situation and someone makes a joke, it's a pressure valve. It really just let go of all that tension. Not only that, it releases endorphins. Like, how great do you feel when you've laughed so hard that you've cried? You feel amazing because of all the endorphins that are being released. And not only that, it helps lower blood pressure. It helps us with our blood circulation and all those things. But when we don't laugh for long periods of time, we are deemed clinically depressed. So we want to keep that going. And if a team laughs together and someone tells that story of that moment, they're right back in that moment. That is the power of humor to connect us. I play a game in my keynotes where, it's sort of a rock, paper, scissors thing. And at one point, I'll get them all to roar like a lion, like, ah, and some groups, I was just with a police conference and they were very like uptight and very, a bit stiff. But once we got to that and I said, you know what, in 6 months from now, if you see someone from this conference in the supermarket and one of you does, you're going to be right back at this moment. And that is the power because people are more attached to emotions and storytelling than they are to stats. Right. So it really does draw people in and builds that connection, that rapport. Like we all have those childhood memories of just laughing like so hard that you're crying. And then you see that friend, you remember that time, we all have those. And that is the power of humor to connect us on a very primal level. One of the first things we do as babies is laugh. And that is regardless of your gender, the color of your skin, it is human nature. And it really does lend to being, that pressure valve, as I said, especially when we're, dealing with change and this and that and AI and everything else that's going on.
I love that. And by the way, it makes me think of something I do in one of my talks, which I try to get people to get to the same word. And by the time that they do, team up and get to the same word. And by the time they do, yell out, boom, shakalaka.
Some words are just funny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I tend to be like oope on the dupe lupe. And I don't even know what it means. I have no idea, but I say it all the time. Anyway.
Well, good. I will steal that from you because it's a good one. You and I were talking before we, pressed record about the level of stress that exists in society right now. It is
Yeah.
higher and higher every single year.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what's like one simple way that a leader can use humor to set a positive tone amidst all the challenging projects or difficult weeks that their team's facing? How can they really provide that tone that is necessary to bring everyone down kind of a little bit into a positive zone?
It can be as simple as a funny meme before you start. You know, it can be as simple as a Ted Lasso clip. We don't have to, it's not about telling the next best joke. It's really about not taking yourself so seriously and bringing that. But I find, have someone choose a game that you're going to play before you start. And at each meeting, have a different person choose a game. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. It's really, or it can be like, what's something great that happened to you this weekend or this day? It's setting the tone for success, and people are way more motivated to bring their best to a situation when they feel validated and supported. And little things like that, not getting right into work right away. We have this, we got to get this done right now. I just imagine that. I've never worked in an office. Although I did work at Domino's Pizza for like a week. Oh, that's a good story, but it's dirty. I can't tell you. Okay.
This whole podcast is about engagement. What's more engaging than something dirty?
Okay. Just a little detour because I worked at Domino's Pizza in England to put myself through school. And I was, I was always getting job offers answering the phone because of my voice. Would you like to come work for me? And I'm like, no. But one guy was a real like jerk to me on the phone, and I was so angry, and I used to make all the pizzas. So I made a huge dick-shaped pizza. And like with the ball, like everything, and ground beef on the, like I like did it up and I sent it off, and then I got fired, and that was it. But it felt really good at the time, and yeah.
So that joke
story.
didn't land quite the way you were hoping
No, it
it would.
didn't. It
No.
absolutely didn't. I don't even remember what the question was. What was the question?
Who knows? Who knows?
You're like, this is going off the rails. I'm so sorry.
All right, I'll change the topic. I'll save you
Okay.
and me. With the rise of virtual communications where tone can be easily misread,
Yes.
what's
Oh
a
my
simple
God.
rule for a leader who wants to bring humor to the workplace but wants to do it in a safe way in today's society?
Yeah, that is a great question. You know what? We can leverage humor just by our signature in our email. Like it can be as simple as that. Right now, my email signature just says autocorrect is my worst enema. You know what I mean? It's just a one letter difference. I'm just saying. And look, there's lots of stuff online that can give you funny email signatures and stuff like that. It doesn't have, I'm not asking you to come up with a great joke or anything, but I am asking you to take that risk. Do a PS like tag you're it, or PSS no tag backs, or highly caffeinated, like there's lots of stuff we can say instead of yours truly or looking forward to a reply. So there's lots we can say. There's lots of really funny PS's email signatures that are online that you can get, and it really does say to people you have a sense of humor and you can bring yourself to our relationship. And I think from a leadership point of view, it de-risks it. You can do it without telling a joke. We all know that Google has like fun names of their all their boardrooms, right? Like Nerd Cave or Donut or whatever it is. But what it's saying to all those employees is that we have a sense of humor around here. Let's take our work seriously, but let's not take ourselves too serious.
I think that's really critical at the end of the
Yeah.
day. We're all just people, right?
Yes. Yeah.
My next question was about nonverbal techniques to bring some humor. And certainly the example you just gave is a really good one. Certainly what you can do in the form of writing. I'm also
Yeah.
curious rather whether you can talk a little bit about body language.
Absolutely. My dad was the king of slapstick. Like he would just around all my friends become a hunchback, like, all of a sudden he's a pirate and this and that. We take ourselves so seriously that we forget. We all get into that elevator going up to work. None of us are facing each other. Smile at everyone, say good morning, see what happens. Mindfulness is such a buzzword now. One of the most authentic and easiest ways to be mindful is to laugh, because it's impossible to laugh and not be in the moment. You can't do it, So you know how they tell you to always get in your 10,000 steps a day? Get in your 300 laughs a day,
I love that.
right? Like, watch cats falling, whatever makes you laugh, just put it on. There's enough stuff out there that, we don't have to rely on each other for that.
I'm curious, is 300 laughs really a clinical thing, or is that a Kate Davis thing?
No, they actually say oh my gosh. And I don't know if stats are true or not. I don't know what's true or not anymore. But I did read quite a few years ago that the average child gets in 300 laughs a day and the average adult gets in 15. So when do we leave Never Never Land? It really is a buffer between stress and its toxic effect, and it makes us kinder to each other. So why wouldn't we want that within our culture?
Yeah.
Whether it's, a small group or a big group, I can always tell whether people are happy. If there's a lot of people who have been there 30 years, it's a great place to work. People are not staying, and definitely the younger generation is not compromising their happiness for you to make millions. It's just never going to happen nowadays. People really want to be validated and respected, and really feel like they can be themselves at work, because we're at work for longer than we're at home, a lot of us. So we really want to make that difference.
I think that's true. I think one of the things that companies are struggling right now with is the idea of a lifer is no longer really a reality, right? As far as employees are concerned. And how do you build a culture that really caters to people wanting to stay forever? I think a lot of that requires being thoughtful and meaningful in the way that you encourage people, grow people, respect people from the top down and across. And Google has like a no assholes policy. I think that is honestly something that every company should have, right?
They also say, teams that bond together in the good times, play games, have fun. A great way to do it is, you could hook up, like I did a show in Chicago for a medical supply company. I don't think I can say their name, but they were amazing. And what I loved about it, they had all the VPs versus the managers, and they were doing tug of war, like all these great games, 3-legged races, egg on a spoon. They had their Olympics, and the staff were betting on them, and then they were getting involved. But what it does is it really bonds people.
Yeah.
Say, you're having a competition who can load the bags up fast enough for the food drive, right? You could do that and attach it to a charity so people feel even more great about what they're doing. Not only were we bonding and having fun and we're being competitive and playful, but we're also helping people. People love that. It really just, warms your heart. And I think if you take the time during the week and during the good times to really bring people together, they're going to work better for you, harder for you in the hard times.
I'm curious, you obviously are brought in by a lot of companies.
Yep.
I would imagine in most cases, these are companies that are already bought into this type of culture and mentality. Have you seen turnaround examples as well? So companies that maybe needed to build trust, they needed to build relationships between clients or colleagues. If so, can you talk about how humor has been used to kind of change that?
Yeah, well, I just did a hate crimes conference. This particular group, the detectives were very in their own heads. I did an hour the first day, and then I had to do another hour the second day. And I went to my hotel room. I'm like, oh my God, they hated me. Now I got to go see them again. But I went down to have drinks with them, and they were like, you're amazing. We've never seen any of them stand up, do anything. I was like, I was crying all day.
How did you break through to them, though?
There's always a way to get through, but it's know your audience.
Yeah.
Know who you're talking to. If I'm in a group of 12 people, I'm not going to perform like there's 500 people there. I'm not going to do stand-up comedy thinking that's so much pressure on them to laugh. I met them where they were. And I think that's the trick.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a full blown, I'm going to tell you this joke that my dad told me. We can really bring them into that moment, let their guards down with those baby steps.
Yeah.
It just makes us more human. We're all the same.
I think that's so true. And I think sometimes it's important to remind people that, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're all swept up in ourselves, and sometimes we're incredibly judgmental of others, but at the end of the day, we're not thinking about what others are going through and how we can support versus how we can judge.
Absolutely. Yeah, you don't know what's going on in someone's life.
Yeah.
It's so funny because we have those moments where we can choose to deal with someone with levity, or we can choose, to rule with that iron fist if we're talking about leadership or someone else on your team.
It's just connecting with people.
You don't know what someone's going through unless you ask. Those moments aren't going to come up when you're like, you have a deadline in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
If you work at Amazon, the entire internet's down.
Yeah.
Those are trying moments. But if you've bonded as a team in the good times, when those moments do come up, you're going to work more cohesively.
One thing we didn't talk about or haven't talked about yet is how humor can be used really to drive innovation.
It's so interesting because I talk about bringing what you love back into your life. And for me, bringing what I love back into my life was really weird for me because I had no idea what I loved. And the key here is to lighten up, to be more playful and discovering things that fuel our soul. But so often, or the truth is, we don't want to lighten up because we're afraid we're going to lose our sense of importance. Right? But lightening up allows us to take that risk. It allows us to think differently, to communicate differently, and it makes us more receptive where all great ideas are born.
Yep.
I mean, Oprah talks about it all the time, that awe moment, that firework moment. Everyone's trying it this way. I want to try it this way. But those moments will never happen unless we're relaxed enough to let those creative juices through. But most importantly, to not take ourselves so seriously so we can be playful in discovering new things. That way, innovation and great ideas are born.
I agree with that. I think it's also maybe taking those shower moments and trying to figure out where we have those great ideas, and how do you
Yes.
and how do you either take more showers, which is never a bad thing, right?
For me, it's walking.
Yeah.
So all my ideas, I'm just out of my head. I get out of my own way. We got to get out of our own way. We're just like, everyone, like, we got to do it this way. We've always done it this way. But no, we don't. There's this one woman, I forget her name, but she has the I Do Not Care Club. I don't know if you've seen her online. And she's menopausal. And it's like, I do not care. You're all on notice. If my chin hair is glowing you can see my chin hair from beside my car. I do not care. But she has 5 million followers in like a few weeks. But if she didn't take that chance, she didn't take that risk.
She's also picking content that is so relatable.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. And it's simple. It's not complicated. And the best ideas are the simplest ones. The ones that people can, gravitate, hold on to, grasp. We make everything so complicated, and people are always having to pivot. Those pivots are way easier if we are lighthearted, if we find that levity within what we're doing. Okay, we have to pivot. Let's try it this way. It might not work. That's okay. I'm ordering pizza.
All right. I have one final question for you, Kate. And this is advice I'm asking from you. Based on your experience and kind of based on the research that you've seen out there, what are the top 3 most impactful benefits that a team can gain from incorporating humor into their culture?
Trust, for sure. Innovation and happiness. Don't try to be funny. Just notice the funny. That's what it's about. Humor starts with observations. It's not performance. We don't want to be like, does this make me look funny? We want to be like, how does this make the other person feel? That's going to bode well to your workplace, to your team. The only currency we have is time. That's it. So you might as well laugh and have fun and all those higher frequency things, really taking things from transactional to human, really knowing that it's going to increase your trust, build up team unity, and, ultimately make you more money. The power of levity and humor really helps us lead, and it helps people stay loyal, and it really does connect us in a really deep way to each other, to our teams, and to the purpose of what we're doing at work. And I think ultimately that's what everyone wants and needs.
I think that's my biggest takeaway from this conversation, Kate.
Yeah.
Thinking of humor, which I'd never thought of it this way, as an offering.
Yes.
As an offering for how can I make you and how can I make us and how can I make this culture a better place to be? And I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Oh, now you're going to make me cry. Stop it.
Kate, this was super fun. I really appreciate it.
So much fun.
I really enjoyed researching you and researching your material leading up to this.
Aw.
And I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. It was super fun.
Thank you so much. So nice to meet you.
That was a really fun conversation with Kate Davis. And while you might not have seen or heard it, she definitely gave my abs a workout. Here are my 3 takeaways. Number 1, humor humanizes leadership. Humor instantly shifts the workplace dynamic from transactional to human. When leaders use self-deprecating humor and show their authentic, vulnerable side, they build trust and they make their team feel safe. This is a great thing because people simply want their leaders to be real people. Number 2, shared laughter is a primal bond. Laughter is a pressure valve that releases stress and anxiety. When a team shares a laugh, they create a strong, primal connection that acts as a buffer during challenging times. Fostering these moments of levity in good times ensures that a team works more cohesively when things get tough. And number 3, we all need to use humor as an offering. View humor as a gift that you can offer your colleagues. This mindset moves humor beyond simply being a tool, and it repositions it as a generous gesture aimed at improving a shared environment. By offering a moment of levity, be it a smile or a funny meme or a silly email signature, you create a safe space and give others permission to play. Kate put one heck of a smile on my face today. I hope that this conversation was as impactful for you, the listener, as it was for me.